Parshas Shemos. Gentlemen, so nice to see you again. So wonderful to see the smiling, shining faces and all the steiging going on. Keep it up, gentlemen, keep it up. Okay, we're going to try to talk about an idea, and we're going to build on it in Mitzvah for the next few weeks. Very central idea in the Parsha, but we're going to come to it from a story that you probably learned like when you were a child, but we're going to try to make a little more sense of it. Moshe and Aaron, they come to Paro. It's time to free the Jews. Hashem says you got to free them. Paro says, Mi Hashem asher eshma b'kolo. Who is Hashem? Who is God that I should listen to his voice? L'shalach es Yisrael, to send away the Jews. Lo yadati es Hashem. I don't know him. V'gam es Yisrael lo ashaleach, and I'm not going to send out the Jews. Okay, so who is this God? I don't know who he is. Who is he? Now this is a little interesting that he says. Oh, first of all, the Medrash. You all know the Medrash? Paro was not just some random guy who was king. Paro was one of the wisest men in the world. He had incredible understanding of the world. He spoke the 70 languages of the 70 root societies. Today we don't speak the 70 languages anymore. We speak languages that have been kind of put together from old languages. But he spoke the 70 root languages. He had mastery over every culture. He understood how all the climates in the world worked. He was an expert in every philosophy and every system of belief and every thought. He understood from the stars what was happening in the world as Hashem brings down, as the process of managing the world comes down. The first place it appears is in the stars. He understands this wisdom of the stars. He is the master of wisdom, and that's why he is the master of the most powerful nation in the world. And this is Paro. 70 languages he speaks. Doesn't speak Lashon HaKodesh, and that's going to be relevant here. And he takes out the encyclopedias. He takes out all of the books of all of the wisdom that he had gathered from all the different cultures. And let's not forget, the world was all coming to him for food very, very soon after that. They were the center of civilization. And he pages through. He says, I don't see the name Hashem here. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see this God that you're talking about. I don't know him. Now, is he being dishonest, or does he mean it? If you look earlier, when Yosef first comes to Paro, so Yosef actually starts teaching him something, right? He calls him out of the pit. Yosef has been in prison for 12 years. He is really eager to get out, right? He'll say anything to get out, right? No. Paro says, I heard you're the guy who knows dreams. Yosef says, Biladai, it's not with me. Elokim Yana Shlom Paro. God knows, not me. And he starts telling him the dreams. Yosef says again, you had one dream, what God does, he's showing you. And he tells him what each one means. And he says, this is the thing that I spoke to Paro. What God is doing, I have told you. And it goes on a little bit further. And why did he repeat the dream? Ki nochon hadavar me'im Elokim. God is going to do this. So therefore, now, what does Paro say to all of this, saying that it's God doing it? He gives his advice on how to make things work. And Paro says, he says to his slaves, Hanimtza kazeh, can we find like this ish a man asher ruach Elokim bo, that the ruach of God is in him? Yosef turns Paro into believer. Next pasuk, Paro says to Yosef, after God has told you all those, there's nobody as smart and as wise as you. So Paro knows Yosef, or he knows God, or he doesn't know God. Sounds like he knows him. He's like, oh, who's this God? I don't know who he is. Now, early in the Parsha, it says a new king came who didn't know Yosef. Okay, but it's not in their encyclopedias. It's not written anywhere. This historical event is not found anywhere. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. What's going on? I'm going to shift for a moment to a different story. How did the Jews get down to Mitzrayim? How did it all start? Well, there's a lot of different historical lines that can trace. Was it because when Avram has his vision and Hashem says your children will be slaves? Was when Yosef spoke Lashon Hara? Dibas Amra, and because of that they ended up selling him and he ended up Mitzrayim? All of these things are brought by Chazal as tracing some of the roots of Paro of the Jewish people going to Mitzrayim. And there's this really interesting story that connects to this. And the story is, Moshe goes out to see his brothers are suffering. He goes out to see them. Sees a Mitzri who's beaten a Jew, he kills the Mitzri. He comes out the next day. He sees two guys fighting. And he V'yomer l'Rosh, lo masakar yecha. He says to the guy, raise his hand, hit his friend. Why you to the Rosh? Why are you hitting your friend? He says, who put you in charge of us? You're so important. Who made you? Who died and left you boss? You're going to kill us like you killed the Mitzri? V'yomer Moshe, v'yira Moshe became afraid. V'yomer, and he said, Achein noda hadovar. Now this matter is known. What matter is known? So simple meaning is, it's known that I killed a Mitzri. I better get out of town before the authorities get me. But the Medrash says much more than that. I now understand why the Jews are in Golus. Why the Golus is so bad. How come? Because they spoke Lashon Hara. Huh? The Sasema says, and is there another nation that doesn't speak Lashon Hara? Like everybody, like that's why, just because they spoke some Lashon Hara? Okay, there's a Medrash, it's a Zohar. The Medrash says that the Dibur, speech, was in Golus in Mitzrayim. Speech was in Golus, the speech of God. What does it mean, his speech is in Golus? What does it even mean? The speech is in exile? What's that concept? The idea is Hashem created the world with speech. He spoke the world into existence. And why, we've spoken about it in the past. It's a very deep, subtle idea. What does it mean to speak the world into existence? He created the world, spoke it, but really when you speak, we are all created with godly characteristics. What does it mean when we speak something into existence? The idea doesn't exist and we give it existence and we make it real. And people are willing to give up their lives for ideas that people have conveyed to them or that people have written. And people make sense of the world through the ideas. Speech is the power of taking something that exists only in your mind and making it real in the world right here. And Hashem spoke the world into existence. 10 statements. Spoke the world into existence. Ba'asara ma'amoros nivra ha'olam. Meaning an idea that existed in Hashem's mind, he gave existence to. And the existence that he gave is, I want you to flourish. See the goodness in my world. Speak the goodness in my world. I have given you the power of speech so you can create goodness and blessing in my world. And this is the big bracha. Avram is blessing in the world. How do you bring the blessing? Speak the goodness of creation. Speak the goodness of the world. Speak the goodness of your friend. Speak the goodness of your community. Speak the goodness into existence that brings the bracha into the world. In Paro's world, they didn't recognize one overarching power over creation. They recognized every power that exists in creation, but they didn't recognize anything that exists above creation. The name Elokim, the word El, means power. It means might. When Lavan is speaking to Yaakov, he says, Yesh El Yodi, I have the power to hurt you. I'm not going to because your God spoke to me, but I have the power. Paro said, yeah, there's a lot of powers in the world. Elokim, I don't have a problem with the name Elokim. The name of Hashem, Yud, and a Hey, and a Vav, right? That name, the Shem Havaya, Yud Ke Vav Ke, That name, the name of all creation, the name which is beyond all the individual powers in the world, the name which gives the power to everything that seems as if it has power. I don't recognize that power in creation. Mi Hashem Yud-Kei Vav-Kei Asher Eshma B'Kolo. Who is that God that I should recognize, that I should listen to his voice? I have never encountered him. Oh, you'll tell me about Elohim? Yeah, I encountered that power. Okay, there's lots of powers. Not showing me that there's something more than all that. The speech of Hashem was in Golus. The speech that Hashem spoke the world into existence and wanted the words to be used to create life and goodness was in Golus. Mitzrayim had lost this vision and the Jews were stuck in Mitzrayim. It started, Yosef said something. He had Kavanah l'shem Shemayim. But the Mefarshim say that was one of the roots of creating separation, of creating distance, of using the world. You're going to have to go to Yosef, you're going to have to go to Mitzrayim, pass all the tests, and use your language only to create, which he did. That's going to be how Yosef fixes that. The Jews, how could they be in Golus? Oh, Dasan and Aviram fighting. You're speaking Lashon Hara about what went on? I understand how we could be in Golus. We could be in Golus because we're not together. We could be in Golus because when the Jewish people are together, nothing can harm them. When they're fighting, when they're speaking Lashon Hara, when they're using their power of creation to speak goodness into existence, to speak destruction into existence, they can be in Golus. Achein no da hadover. I know. And you know what? Paro says, Mi Hashem asher eshma b'kolo, because today, the words of Yosef aren't, the fixed words are not what's going on. What's going on is people speaking Lashon Hara. There's a breakdown. I can't see it. You came to Mitzrayim to bring the light. Yosef brought some light, but the nation, where are you? You're still speaking Lashon Hara. The power that Klal Yisrael has of speech is the power to speak blessing and good life into existence. But when something bad happens and we speak something that we see as bad and we speak about it as bad, when we speak bad about another, when we choose the bad to make sense of the world rather than the good, we completely destroy everything that we have. I'm going to finish by just saying that was what happened in the dream of Yosef. I want to tell you a very, like a deep idea over here of the dream of Paro that Yosef did that was different than everybody else. What did he do that was so different than everybody else? 7 beautiful cows and they're swallowed by the 7 skinny cows. There's no sign of them left. 7 beautiful stalks of wheat swallowed by it, nothing left. What is being shown over here? What's being shown is Hashem created a world with beauty and greatness in it. And then how do people receive it? What do you see in your dream? What do you see in your world? You see curse. You see lack of life. You see lack of goodness. You take that goodness, that's 7 beautiful cows, and they're swallowed like there's nothing left. Completely vanished. It's possible for the word of Hashem to be in Golus. Yosef now comes and says, yes, there has been this process of destruction, but there is a way to utilize the blessing that even when the difficulty comes, we're going to come out the other side more powerful and in a better place than we ever were before, where Mitzrayim will become the nation that the entire world needs. Because Yosef was able to see, he's called Tov Ayin, he has the Ayin Tov, able to see the goodness in creation. And even when it gets difficult, he was able to see how to use that goodness to carry us through the difficulty. Gentlemen, we should be zeicher to be able to speak the goodness into creation. Have a beautiful Shemos.